This week on One Day Leader, our leaders try to understand South Africa's perceptions between international and local brands. Mzansi, make sure you don't miss this one. Good evening, sanibonani babukelo emakhaya ngiphinde nginamukele ohlelweni labaholi benu bakusasa One Day Leader. Igama nginguPearl Wakashongwe. Welcome to One Day Leader, the show that confronts pressing issues of the day through debate-driven challenges. Tonight we'll be talking about local versus international brands. On this show, we want to find out if South Africans really value international over homegrown appeal. So, does your bling go with international, or do you prefer the local? In other words, ingabos kotangama international brands, or you prefer getting swagged out in local gear? But before that, let me get into the information you've all been waiting to hear about. How did you, the viewers, score our leaders in last week's task and debate challenge? Well, let's take a look at the results.
This week's viewer scoreboard has leader 6, Zongezile, leading the pack with 595 viewer votes, and leader 2, Philasande, as the last person on the list with 21 votes. Now this means leader 6, Zongezile, gets 1 point. Congratulations! Now leading the pack with 5 points is leader 4, Bhekisisa, closely followed by leader 6, Zongezile, and leader 1, Gugulethu, with 3 points, but trailing way behind is leader 5, Sibonisile, with 1 point.
Thank you very much, Mzansi, for your ongoing participation. Nikhumbuleke lapha emakhaya ukuthi your votes do indeed count. Back to today's show, the debate for local versus international brands is certainly not a new discussion and has been raging on for quite some time. International brands are believed to be of a good reputation, higher quality, and to carry prestige. On the other hand, campaigners for local brands claim that buying local preserves jobs, supports national development, and keeps money in local economies. Well, whether you agree or disagree with either argument, they come with deep-seated emotions among some South Africans. Every now and then, without fail, news outlets will report of owners of local brands claiming they've been hard done because market forces did not endorse their products. I mean, last year, a well-known hip-hop star here in South Africa was quoted for saying South African brands do not care about local artists after sponsors, of course, failed to come on board to support his concert. A similar grievance was expressed by a well-known South African producer who claimed that local brands prefer washed-out international acts. What about the world you live in? Would you buy a locally produced Kumal or trainer over the international brand known for its swoosh logo, even if they were of the same price and quality? Does international appeal of a brand influence your buying tastes as a South African? All these examples I've given inform today's topic, which is: do South Africans really value international brands over local ones? However, let's not forget that the debate is not so black and white, as we do have well-known local brands that South Africans love and support. Nikhumbuleke, you can join the conversation and even share your experiences by visiting our Facebook page, One Day Leader SA, to share your thoughts on our topic. Also visit our Twitter page at One Day Leader and hashtag One Day Leader 6. Keep us trending. Now, Mzansi, it's time for us to settle in position and tackle this issue. But first, let's hear what our leaders' vision statements are. As usual, we start with Leader 1. Welcome, Gugulethu, your vision statement.
South Africa needs a revolution in the quality of her leadership. As a rising leader of this country, I am determined to contribute to the creation of a disciplined leadership culture. Let's get to the business of the day today of leading with integrity and discipline. If we can lead ourselves well, we can lead a nation even better.
Philasande, welcome.
I declare South Africa and Africa at large that strives for economic emancipation through the development of our local economies and industrialization. This is possible. Hashtag Redeem Africa.
Kuhlekonke, it's your turn.
I am Womandla, armored in faith and hope, marching towards the realization of the dreams of African women, striving for South Africa, where young people are no longer bound by the chains of generational poverty and illiteracy. I see a nation that pursues and accomplishes indigenous prestige, and by that, I welcome you to the new South Africa.
Leader 4, Bhekisisa, it's your turn.
I believe in a South Africa where the means of production are benefiting the poor. The property ownership is not in favor of the minority. Indeed, a South Africa that does not see color, but it sees humanity. We are the future and nothing can stop us.
Sibonisile, go for it.
My grandmother tells me of a South Africa where umuntu was umuntu ngabantu, where it was kindness and not political affiliation that ruled the land. It begins and ends with us. Mayibuye iAfrika.
And finally, Zongezile, you're welcome.
I envision a leader that will empower a child from a rural area in a township to lead, give a nation access to the land and quality education for the economy to live. Hashtag we are chancing for change.
Thank you very much, leaders. Well, let me just say to the Mzansi community at large, these are your leaders. Private sector, government sector, look at them. And make sure that you listen to what they have to say because they are strong and they are the future of this country. This week, voting will work slightly differently. But let me say, if you would like to get in touch with any of these leaders, there's an email address on your screens right now. Now, you'll not be voting for our leaders as individuals, but you'll be voting for them as teams. Let's take a look at how that will work. To vote for Gugulethu, SMS 1 to 32672. To vote for Philasande, SMS Leader 2. For Kuhlekonke, SMS Leader 3. For Bhekisisa, SMS Leader 4. For Sibonisile, SMS Leader 5. And for Zongezile, SMS Leader 6. This sounds very exciting indeed, Mzansi. Stay tuned to see how the leaders will handle it. Now on to our guest judge. He is widely regarded as the foremost global African branding authority in Africa and is the winner of over 75 global marketing and branding awards. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to studio Thebe Kalafeng. I mean, our topic today is quite interesting. Do South Africans really prefer international brands over local brands? And is it a price issue or a quality issue?
Well, in general, if they're hungry, they go local. And if they want to show off, they go international. It's a pity because we've got some great South African brands, made in South Africa brands. It's not necessarily so much an issue about quality and price. It's got to do a lot with perhaps self-identity. Because they believe, many people believe if they're buying international or they're wearing international brands, that they have arrived or that perhaps they are going places. But of course, when they're hungry, you have to make the realistic choice. You have to be practical. You know, you can't spend those premium when all you want to do is just to have food in your stomach.
Is it about pricing or perception? And is that perception right, that local is not better than international?
It's all perception. I mean, you can find some fine South African or broadly African brands here of the same price, higher price and lower price. So it's not a price issue. It's really just a self-identity, self-perception in terms of how we as South Africans, us as Africans, how we feel about ourselves. Because we need to reach a point where we all believe that we are as good, as international, and buy and support made in South Africa.
All right, Thebe, we'll come back to you more about that. Well, of course, let's not forget that we also have our resident judges. They are Catherine Constantinides, an environmentalist, entrepreneur, social activist, and businesswoman. Welcome. And of course, Sibonisile, who's an entrepreneur, founder of Read a Book SA, a public relations guru, and social activist. Welcome. Well, you probably hear the term branding being tossed around a lot, but what is a brand? Why are brands important? And how do we as South Africans perceive international and local brands? Well, let's see how today's task will help our leaders understand the basics behind branding and South Africa's perceptions of them. Good day, leaders. We live in a connected world. This connectivity has brought humanity together in economic, communications, and the transportation sector. As such, international brands have found a home in South Africa. They found a huge following and huge success. Some would say to the detriment of our local brands. Is this true, leaders? Your task today is to investigate this, find out the causes, and get to the bottom of this issue. For this task, you'll split yourselves into two groups of three. Leaders, you will meet a creative director at one of South Africa's leading advertising agencies, Olisa Tieshana. You will also meet radio personality and entrepreneur, DJ Sbu. But before that, leaders, you will get to sit down with a sociologist who then unpack and give you an academic perspective on the matter. Leaders, you have 24 hours. Make it count. You're dismissed.
This week's topic, around local brands in comparison to international brands. Maybe let's discuss it a bit. What's your take?
I think the first thing we're looking at is that there's this perception that South Africans and Black South Africans specifically are not supportive of local brands and Black local brands and so on.
I think that South African brands are at an advantage, mainly because they're on the ground. Whenever there's something trending, they can use that.
Since we are divided into groups of 2 and we are 3 there, it is a challenge, but it is a challenge as a winner because as a leader, you have to be able to work with other people.
Leaders, I'm very impressed with all the prospective questions and outcomes that you are looking for. But I must remind you that, bear in mind, look for unconventional methods of research and answers. So what informs consumer behavior? And these are some of the things as you ask questions, you interrogate. You raised a very important issue around naming, maybe how do we relate to that, compared to Ipiya and Dumkomboti. It's the same thing, but the cultural values are different. So look for such things and to say, why are our local brands actually predominant internationally? What is the mindset behind it? Okay, but all of the best for your task, and I look forward to hearing your results.
After the break, our leaders meet a social sciences expert who will unpack some of the reasons that influence our perceptions towards local and international brands. Ninganyagazi. Welcome back to One Day Leader, South Africa's #1 show on grooming leadership talent to confront the challenges facing our modern day society by providing solutions through critical and rigorous debate challenges. Well, today's topic is, do South Africans really value international brands over local ones? Is the international brand your zikhothani, or do you prefer your local brand? Ingabuzikhothangani wena kahle kahle Mzansi? Do you prefer the international brand or prefer ukuchoma nge-local? Before the break, our leaders met with a leading marketing expert and local entrepreneur who painted a picture for us about the clashing forces between international and local brands. Well, to find out what informs why we choose certain brands over others, our leaders stepped into the office of a social sciences fundi of a very well-known university to get the answers.
So our local brands being suppressed by international brands.
I find it very fascinating. It sounds simple on the surface, but it's a very, very complex question.
So what is a brand? Essentially, it is a unique name that is marketable, and a brand must have an essence of universality. So what we've learned is that the way we've been studying this is rather maybe from a limited lens.
It talks to topical contemporary issues in South Africa, and then secondly, it gives space to marginal voices, especially from the periphery, that is maybe countries in the so-called global south, people call it the third world, who are trying to find space in the market for so many things, not only brands. But it is very complex again in this way, because it talks to issues of identity.
And then obviously it went back to the case of identity, which is how do we perceive ourselves?
There's what people call global designs, local histories. This idea says there's nothing called local, there's nothing called global. These are basically global designs, a hybrid of the local. Maybe if I give an example, like Casper Nyovest, he's a hip hop artist, right? But hip hop is seen as an American genre, should I say. So whatever Casper in your vest, if talented or whatever it does, there's always a reference point. Say the authentic is over there. Maybe it's Lil Wayne or it's Jay-Z, you know, that kind of. So say that when he comes, even Jay-Z can fill up the Dome and F&B on the same day because he's seen as authentic. You get my point. Yeah. If the local is a hybrid of the international, then we might rephrase our questions.
Would you then say, because the lines are so blurred, that it's not so much that it makes it very difficult for us to say, are we supporting local brands enough? Because if McDonald's is owned by a South African man who bought it as a franchise and we buy from McDonald's, are we not supporting him and the local brand of it?
Yes, that is what I was trying to throw at you. So what do we say about that? But so we can say, depending on where we stand, we can say we are buying local. Some will say we are buying international.
Our society focuses a lot on how does this thing benefit me economically? How does this thing benefit me with regards to my identity? Does it speak to my identity? Does it speak to my need? And also the sense of belonging.
So with preparation, to see kakhulu how do you create perceptions and brands? What are the successes? And so masiyaxolisa besifuna ukwazi ngempela ukuthi yena njengomuntu who's part of the production process of advertising, how do they get to the conclusion and how do South Africans receive it, or how do they want South Africans to receive it?
Is this perception that South Africans specifically tend to like brands that are not just South African, so they tend to waver more towards international brands as opposed to local brands?
There is this perception that from outside is better. But I also challenge entrepreneurs at the same time, because if there's one thing that I can tell you about international entrepreneurs, because by the way, these big brands that we speak of were also started by entrepreneurs at some point, and they were also small at some point.
So would you agree with me in saying that the advertising industry as a whole, for the local brands, makes it hard for our local brands to get that?
I think we have to reframe our thinking of marketing. I think that there is a space for, I'll give you a great example. Just for you to get national distribution, you have to be a serious player. So when we talk about so many entrepreneurs, we are not even talking about a national footprint. Now, when you think of above the line and when you think of all these big marketing campaigns, they're usually for a brand that's already available at every single outlet in the country. So when you think of marketing, I think we tend to only think about the brands that we see everywhere. Whereas I think that if I'm available in KZN, you'll probably find that there is a marketing solution that is suitable for just that KZN area that I want to operate in.
Quality of the product is pivotal, and also innovation, creativity is how are you packaging your product? What angle are you taking? So those are the strong things that I got, and also that we seem to be throwing around this sort of perception of, Black people are not supporting.
Yes, it is the DJ Smooth Breakfast. 18 minutes after 8 o'clock, the DJ Smooth Breakfast is exclusive to Massive Metro. Morning, guys.
Good morning. How are you?
I had my view, Uguti, local brands are suppressed, local brands are not given a chance. But then after talking to Sbu, I realized, Uguti, no, it's not the case.
Very good question, because sometimes we fall into the victim mentality of blaming other guys because they're bullying you. Even if they are, I think you shouldn't look at it like that. You should look at what ways can I use, or what strong points that I have can I use to benefit me and put me in an advantageous position as opposed to these giants. So I started reading a book called David versus Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, and I started getting inspired to come up with ways that benefit me where the big giants cannot touch me in the department. And that's exactly in the streets.
My conclusion, as far as our international brands are harmful to our local brands, I could say that it is not entirely true. They are not harmful because I can think maybe umuntu ngathi harmful, it is because we are fighting the same battle the same way.
Thank you very much to Philasande for giving us his marketing expertise about brands and branding. Also, thank you to entrepreneur Sbuliope, known as DJ Sbu, for giving us the challenges faced by South African entrepreneurs in bringing their homegrown brands to the market. Now, this week, as you saw, I asked the leaders to divide themselves into two groups. This was not a random decision. Leadership is as much a group effort as it is an individual effort. So what the leaders didn't know is that today they'll be judged on their task as a team, and they'll also be debating as a team. In other words, Team A will be judged as a team and Team B will also be judged as a team. Each individual of the least performing team in the task will lose a point on their overall score, and each individual in the best performing team will each earn 1 point towards their overall score. Now, this certainly raises the stakes. Coming up next, our judges will evaluate the task undertaken by our leaders. So, we're careful. Welcome back to One Day Leader. Before the break, our leaders met 3 experts to help them navigate the complexities of understanding brands and branding. It's now time to hear from our judges about this week's tasks and how our leaders performed. Catherine, I'll come to you. What did you think of how our leaders did on their task this week?
The interesting thing about the task this week is really that it was a group effort. We saw really good individual performance during those inserts, but I like to see the group effort. I wanted to see how you were going to play on each other's strengths, how you were going to harness each other's strengths within the activities, and I don't see that at all. I don't believe you can't do that because we have seen that in previous activities. We've seen that in challenges before, where as a group you worked together. You had a game plan and you went in together as a team. Strong performances as individuals, but this was really about the teamwork.
All right, thank you very much, Kathy. Deboho, the verdict, please.
We've decided not to subtract any points, but because we're disappointed and we expected more from you, we've also decided not to award any points.
All right, thank you very much, judges. Now, as I said before, the leaders are going to debate as teams. The main topic this week will be debated by our task leaders. Then the other 2 debates will be subtopics of the main topic and will be debated by the 2 other members of their choice. Remember, you at home, you will be voting for them as teams as well. Our main debate topic is still, do South Africans really value international brands over local ones? Mzansi Tina sithanda yiphi ukudlula enye. Before we start with our first debate, let's have a look at the rules of engagement.
These are the rules for the One Day Leader debate. You have 30 seconds to state your vision statement, 60 seconds for the opponent to challenge, and 30 seconds to conclude your debate.
Now, Mzansi, our first debate is between our team leaders, Gugulethu from Team A and Sibonisile from Team B. Ready, leaders? Your 30 seconds starts now.
First of all, there should be no blurred lines between what a product is and what a brand is. A brand is a unique, marketable name. Brands are nothing without communication. That's why we have thriving industries such as public relations, whose main purpose is to drive the visibility of brands. As a former public relations practitioner myself, I qualify to claim that the hypodermic needle theory is still very much applicable in our society today. Viewers act upon what they've been given. Information is one of the most important drivers of consumer behavior, and this is what we should keep in mind when...
Thank you very much. Time is up. Your 60 seconds.
You've not answered the question. I've heard nothing so far about the actual topic.
Brands are thriving. Local brands are thriving in terms of local and international brands. For example, when I lived in Malaysia for 9 months, the lemons that I was buying, the apples I was using were directly from South Africa. They even had the South African flag on the packaging.
But we're talking about South Africans buying local brands.
South Africans are buying local brands, but that does not mean that local brands are not doing well. Yes, I do. Food brands in this country are thriving. Look at Tiger Brands. Look at Unilever that owns a lot of our grocery items. Look at yes, Tiger Brands.
I'm giving you a chance to talk, but I still haven't.
No, South African brands are actually. You've got the situation of David versus Goliath, and And there's the way you see that David actually slew Goliath and not the other way around. The thing about local brands is the fact that they understand the domestic platform in terms of how the industry works on the ground.
Time is up, leaders. Thank you. All right, your closing statement, please.
How do we stop blaming the economy and start creating our own economy when the information being sent out to the public is not so as to conscientize the masses on the power of emancipation from financial slavery? We need to stop feeding our masses funeral policy adverts because that drives what they are thinking. And for that reason, because we are not feeding people the right information, we have people attending funerals on Saturdays instead of attending business seminars. We need to take control of what we are feeding our viewers in terms of brand identity.
Time is up. The tables are turned. Sibonisile, it's your turn.
If Nomza Mombata can promote Adidas in South Africa for the US, why can't, say, Rihanna promote David Tlale in the US for South Africa? Research shows that there's currently a huge gap between international brands being represented in South Africa versus South African brands being represented overseas. We need to enforce stricter laws that allow our market to infiltrate the international market just as easily as they infiltrate ours. Imagine if for every brand that came in, we brought one out and both were marked.
Time is up. You have 60 seconds, ladies.
First of all, you also have not told me which side you're standing on. And since you're speaking so profoundly about laws, please explain to me which laws need to be implicated and with what result expected.
The law or the point where I'm standing is right now there is a divide between representations of South African brands overseas versus here. We cannot have over 50% international brands being represented in South Africa and only 20 represented international. We need to be able to infiltrate
the idea of imports versus exports. Do you know the fact that the character of coloniality still increases in this
and that's why I talk about the law. If the law
of South Africa's imports come from Asia, and we've already got the Chinese language being taught in our schools. Can't you see that the character of colonialism is continuing in our country?
If the law would say that South Africa,
what laws are you proposing to increase?
We are changing policy. We are saying
what is your new policy?
Sibonisile, you can wrap this one up.
This is very simple. It is when we become authentically and unapologetically ourselves that we stop seeing international brands as competition. They can become to us as an opportunity. And this is where examples come across, where you find Umam Esther and she's being herself, she's being South African, and they see that, and that's what drives the example. It is our attempt to imitate other brands that are already existing that makes us feel like we're being overwhelmed, that makes us feel like international programs are bigger. We need to go back to who we are.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. All right, I'll come to Tebe Ikalafeng to comment on this one. Very heated debate between our two team leaders. Your opinion?
I'm still trying to get over the funerals on Saturday. People going to funerals instead of going to business meetings. Very interesting. Well, I didn't quite hear perhaps the primary topic, which is, do South Africans prefer South African brands? I do think perhaps if you look at the two teams, perhaps Team B did go some way towards answering one aspect of that question, which is really about being authentic, finding your own space, and promoting yourself, and also offering some kind of a solution in terms of maybe perhaps if you bring in the law, which is what I think you're saying, that if you put in policies to limit the number of brands that come here, then in a way, you didn't say it, but I think what you meant to say is in a way it will encourage local brands to grow as well. So I think so I appreciated it. I thought you were the first group was not quite on topic. I think you went too much into political, economic emancipation. I got lost what we're talking about there. But I understand you only have 30 seconds to be articulate.
I ask you that you leave it there. Kaboko, very briefly, I need you to please give us the verdict between Team A and Team B. Who took that first round?
First round is Team B.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Team B. Now for you at home, the voting lines are officially open, so vote for your favorite leader and the team they represent by SMSing their number to 32672. Your votes will be revealed at the top of next week's episode. And we're careful, we get to our next round of team debates. Ningathi Nyaga. One Day Leader, the show that grooms potential leaders to becoming future leaders. Today we are discussing local versus international brands. Do we as South Africans really value international brands over our own? Over to the next debate. The team leaders or the next round of debaters are already behind the podiums. You've got 30 seconds, starts now.
What would South Africa be without Maheu? What would China be without sushi? These are brands that speak to our social identity and self-identity. The true story is that local brands are doing well on an average scale. And for an example, research has shown that 70% of the local consumers prefer local food and only 7% prefer international brands. But now, the question that we should be asking ourselves is why? The reason is that they have enough accessibility and they are available. I would like to make an example with DJ's Boo. DJ's Boo has more fire.
Thank you very much. 60 seconds starts now.
My question that I have to you is, give me one example of one company that is thriving in South Africa in terms of numbers.
Clover, exactly. Clover and Unilever. She did mention that you were not listening. You're not listening. She mentioned Clover and Unilever. So the problem in our country is not a matter of the brands, it's the categories. Under which category are we not doing well? With clothing, for example, international brands are doing 4%, they're at 54%.
Numbers.
And the other
get your numbers?
Research, you didn't read. Research. I conducted it online.
I need to,
I'll give
online.
you,
Where online?
Research. There's research. Listen. As I was saying, how do we solve the challenges that we have in different categories of brands?
I disagree with what you say.
What is it that you disagree with?
Recently, South Africa signed a deal with America. It's called the African
They signed a deal, but the average percentages are saying 54% international and 53%
it has led to
I have answered your question. You don't want to listen. As I was saying, moving forward, how can we solve the challenges that we face on the challenges on different categories? So with food, we are doing well. With clothing, we're not doing well. What do we do?
Your closing statement,
As I was saying, on average, we are doing very well, but we need to tackle the different challenges in different categories. So how do we do this? We implement policies. In North Korea, for example, they control whatever brand that comes in and out of their country. In South Africa, that's a different story. The second thing that we need to do is to patent our ideas. If we patent our ideas, if international brands are going to use our ideas, then we will charge them, and that way we'll be able to make more money in order to empower local brands. The other thing that we should look into is to implement policies.
Thank you very much. Time is up. We flip the coin, Philasande. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Beautiful Africans. This is called the African Growth and Opportunity Act. It's a marriage between South Africa and America. Now, in this marriage, it stipulates that America is supposed to dump 65,000 of chicken into South Africa every year. Now, this has led to Rainbow Chicken, which employs over 20,000 people, closing down 15 of their 25 farms. And now that has led to retrenchment of about over 1,000 people. Now, if you want more information on that, you can go to the website. It's called agoa.info.
Thank you very much. Your 60 seconds starts now.
Pilar, your point does not prove that local brands are suffering. Because here's the thing, statistics say that
you
when
don't
you're talking about food,
listen. I just told you.
Listen, it's
Rainbow
70% local, 70% local and 7% thing.
Farms.
Tell me, which categories, let's talk about categories. You're talking about food. Food is product. He defined that there's a difference between a brand and a product. You're confusing the two. And she clearly defined it. You are confused. Let me help you. You're confused. Let me help you. It's not about that. It's about the categories.
I'm confused when I'm giving you facts. These are facts. These are facts.
So you're lying to the country right now by saying that we are doing bad in the food category.
We are. Rainbow Chicken.
That the Tabby has just mentioned that people prefer local food. And you are saying the opposite of that. Wow. Are you serious? He just mentioned that when the show started that we are doing well in the food category. When it comes to clothes, then it's a different story. You are lying to the country.
Calm down.
You don't understand that you are misleading the country. You don't understand the concept.
I just told you.
You don't understand the concept.
65 tons
Let me educate you. You don't understand the concept.
Chicken are dumped into South Africa.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. All right, Philasande, the remaining 30 seconds is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be well informed. That was unacceptable. 2025 is coming up, where this agreement is coming to an end. South Africa and all African nations, they should stand up against this. This is exploitation. We should not allow America to do what they're doing right now. I mean, dumping 65 tons of chicken every year in South Africa. That is not good. Like I told you, Rainbow Chicken closed about 15 of their farms. Now, that is not good, South Africa.
Time is up.
That is not good.
Let me come to you for your comment and then your verdict on the second debate.
Pearl, what a time to be alive. That was a very entertaining debate. I think I was impressed by the amount of passion that you brought to the stage. You're still angry, looking at you now. And I think South Africans have seen tonight that in order for us to get closer to the truth, we really have to be passionate about what we're talking about and get our facts right. I think that, Zongezile, you won this debate because you had more facts, your research was more on point, and unfortunately, Philasande, as much as we loved your passion, the fact that you were a bit obnoxious and then claimed that he's getting emotional, I think the viewers at home will have a good chuckle at that. But you focused on AGOA, which is a trade policy, between the United States and some of the developing countries. But unfortunately, you didn't have other facts. And so when you come to this debate, we want you to be better prepared so that when your research can be credible enough for us to look at your findings and believe in your solutions.
Thank you very much, judges. I have to leave it there. So congratulations to Team A who take that debate. Well, Nanlape Makaya, you're welcome to join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page, One Day Leader SA, to share your comments on the topic. Also visit our Twitter page at One Day Leader and do keep us trending at hashtag One Day Leader 6. Well, our final sub-debate topic is, if South Africans support local over international brands, will it stimulate local economic growth and lead to job creation? All right, leaders, I hope you're ready. Your 30 seconds starts now.
South Africa, it is not true that our brands in this country are suffocating. Our brands are doing well in the financial services. Our brands are doing well in telecommunications. We have Telkom, we have MTN. Our brands are doing well in energy. Our Eskom is doing well in this country. The question that we should be asking is that how can we use the state to empower brands that are not doing well? Because everywhere we talk of success in the whole world, the state was involved. In Japan, for Toyota to be what it is, the state was involved.
You have 60 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
But to be quite frank, Eskom is not doing well, but we're going to continue
No,
and engage
it's
the
not
topic.
doing well compared to what?
First, importantly,
Compared
you're
to
only
what?
mentioning multinational brands in South Africa,
Answer
which
the
are probably
question.
not even black-owned. Now, how are you saying that these big brands
So
are
South
empowering
African to you
the
is
poor
black.
South African
South
at
Africa
home
to you
who
is
has a
black.
spaza shop in
You are
Tembisa?
so
Are we
racist.
empowering?
You are racist.
Bhekisisa,
You are
please stick to the
racist.
topic.
South
You
Africa
cannot
to you
be
is
driven by
black.
emotions. Answer my question.
Eskom is doing well. It's just minor setbacks. The board was appointed to keep
Okay, Bhekisisa, because you're failing to mention how we're empowering them when the woman who has a plaza shop in Tembisa. Let me ask you another question. Are you actually addressing the consciousness in this country about what we think is doing well?
I did say what we are doing well in. I did say Telkom.
Among South Africans,
Telkom is doing
what
well.
good is it when someone who's rich
Telkom
is
is
doing well at home?
What is your question? I gave you a broad overview of what is a brand.
Present
you
me
are
with an
narrow-minded
argument
and
that
focusing
speaks to
on food.
local.
Your time is up. Bhekisisa, you have 30 seconds.
South Africa, this is Asna Mahapa, the founder of the aviation school in this country, a first black female pilot. This woman is just demonstrated by the state being involved. She has achieved what she has achieved. She got a project from SAA. She is supplying SAA with pilots. That is the success. So with the state, with its influence in SADC, its influence in FACOC, we can use that.
Time is up. Thank you, Bhekisisa. There's no time to get emotional. It's your turn.
Government has the social, political and economic obligation to create indigenous prestige and undo the colonial change of mental inferiority emphasized through advertising. Now what we're presenting to you is that symbolic consumption of status and prestige of international brands ought to change if we really want to transform the economy of this country and empower each and every business person in this country. This means that Generations has the obligation to empower local brands, even if it's a lion because it's an alcoholic brand. Let's see that on TV. We need to do brand associations empowering ourselves. 60 seconds. Brand perceptions.
You are talking rhetoric. Where do you stand?
Okay.
Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? What are you saying?
Bhekisisa, the topic for us was economic growth and how it empowers black people or even South Africans in general. Now, brand perceptions and being familiar with what is local is where it starts. The government ought to enforce policy such as advertising more South African brands.
Don't be a novelist.
South Africans, for example.
We are debating here. We are not taking novels.
Let us see from Generations going into acting. Simone, that corporate can exist in local and it doesn't have to be in some fancy restaurant. Let us think about home in a way that creates an empowerment for ourselves.
What a leader, South
Africa. To educate you, we ought to have more policy in terms of subsidizing local businesses in advertising. Advertising is too expensive. If we are all, Bhekisisa, you're all talking, I cannot engage you. Therefore, I'll educate you and the nation. Let us continue with the debate. Now, what we're trying to tell you is...
Thank you very much. You have 30 seconds to round it off. 30 seconds.
Now, as we had presented to you, perception is where it starts. You can have 50 million South African brands, but if I'm reinforced that an international brand is better than any other at the same price, I will always choose an international brand. What we need to do is to think of ourselves as better. Think of yourself as better than anything else, because we need to create more empowerment and actually infiltrate the industry of advertising so that we reinforce better South Africa.
All right, I am pretty glad that I don't have to be a judge. After that heated debate, Catherine, I will be coming to you. Judges, your deliberation time is done. Your comment on that heated debate and, of course, your verdict.
Very importantly, Group 1, I think you came out so powerfully. You had the most unbelievable example. You brought in state involvement as something that hadn't been discussed at all. I think the most important thing for us, sitting on this side, watching the heat of the debate that happened here, you also had such powerful, passionate examples you shared. I mean, I also wanted to get involved in the discussion. But the one fundamental flaw of this debate was the rules of engagement and the mechanics of a debate. You cannot throw insults at each other. You cannot focus in on something that's got nothing to do with the topic. We have to have rules of engagement and we have to operate with that decorum and professionalism at all times. We're leaders. We're here to lead and we're here to grow as leaders. I think we're going to, as a panel of judges, we believe that you both came with something, but because of the fundamental flaw, we're not going to award a point on this debate.
Mzansi, that is a hard knock from our judges. Well, those were your final debaters representing their teams. Nikhumbule lapha ekhaya, you can vote for your favorite leader and the team that they represent. Well, Gugulethu was here for Team A and Sibonisile was for Team B. This is how you vote. SMS their number to 32672. After the break, we find out how our studio audience voted for their favorite team. Welcome back to One Day Leader. Well, I need to get to the judges and get their parting words for our teams this week. Debocha, I'll start with you.
Well, I think you guys have done a great job today. You know, just the last debate where Bhekisisa, she spoke about black-owned businesses and you said that she's a racist because she disagreed with your solution. And then you said she's narrow-minded. I think that is a very important learning curve for you and for the viewers at home, that there's nothing good about debating and insulting somebody who disagrees with you. That's not how we debate. And I hope that perhaps in the future you could look at just listening to what she said and then moving on from that, because she wanted more examples of African-owned companies. I think generally this shows that our young people are very feisty, in as much as our young people still need to improve, and so we are going to polish you. There's a Chinese proverb that says that, you know, you cannot have a shining diamond without any friction. So you need to polish it. And I think that's what we're going to do. And I want you to be better coming next week.
All right. Thank you very much. And to you, Tebe, I know you are dying to share your expertise.
No,
and,
no.
Your thoughts.
70% of the continent is under the age of 30. And these are the people that we're talking to. I think what we can be proud of is that the future is in great hands, because these guys, these ladies, are very passionate about the continent, the country. They're passionate about making a difference. And that's what we need to move this country forward. So our job, our biggest challenge, your challenge, is to ensure that charity begins at home.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you once again, Tebe, for making the time to be with us tonight. Now, before the ad break, our studio audience had an opportunity to vote, and I do have those results with me. Now, Mzansi, is it Team A or Team B that our audiences went with? Well, Team B, congratulations to you. As you can hear, the audiences simply loved you this week. Well, thank you to our audience for voting and, of course, our judges. Let's now take a look at the scoreboard as it stands.
Leading the pack by end of this episode is leader 5, Bhekisisa, with 5 points, followed closely by leader 6, Zongezile, and everyone following with 3 points. It's certainly tight as we get closer to elimination rounds.
Well, to the viewers at home, remember we'll be showing your voting results next week. Voting closes at 1 p.m. this coming Monday. You will get to see our final scoreboard. Well, thank you to everyone who joined us today, our candidates, our judges, our audiences, and of course to you at home for joining us on this episode. To Tebe, thank you so much once again for being a part of our show this evening. We really appreciate your time. Join us again next week for yet another exciting episode of One Day Leader. I leave you with the words from Sir Johnson Sirleaf, former president of Liberia and the first woman in Africa to lead a country. The size of your dreams must always exceed your current capacity to achieve them. If your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. From myself, Upel Shongwe, Umtimanze, Ubambo Lunya, Magazine LBC Amanda Hleti, and the rest of the One Day Leader team, Lishonile Nine Bagalazize. Good night.